Right. Hi, friends. Speaking of having a friend, that beautiful cover by Lady Gaga, what a great cover. I was looking for music today themed around self-efficacy, self-trust, leaning on ourselves. And I was exploring this idea of self-friendship, right? Like we talked about last week, this idea of building the stronger sense of our trust in who we are, trust in how we show up, trust that we will keep our word to ourselves. And, having that, like imagining like these songs that are sung about friendship, that are sung about love, as being easily translatable to how we might feel about ourselves. And I don't know if, I'm pretty sure all of y'all have gone through tough times. And I've certainly found this the same of like when you go through a tough time and you are, forced for the first time to rely on yourself. Sometimes we're given the opportunity where we're able to find that strength and be like, wow, at the end of the day, I am there for myself, no matter what happens. Other times, maybe that takes a minute. Sometimes we try to self-resource and it might mean we haven't got the skills yet. I remember being younger, and so what do? You reach out to anything, anyone, any substance you can to find peace. So anyway, as a little thematic opening, and I just want to appreciate as well. I've been loving hearing all the different stories this week. For those, most of us are in the chat. I know some of you are just on email. If you want to join the Telegram group and you haven't, I highly recommend it. It's a vibe. But just seeing the different reflections, whether it's how for some of you, the practices, choosing fire, choosing heart, are just opening up your experience in the waking state, or seeing the richness in dreams, or all the lucidity that's been popping. I've just been going through a bunch of emails from this group of like first time lucidity, just like, yeah, for sometimes first time in years. So just celebrating that. Does anyone want to celebrate anything from this week? Has anyone had an experience that they would like to just celebrate? Whether it's a pocket of lucidity or an insight. Everyone's always so afraid to celebrate. When I say, hey, raise your hand and share a challenge, everyone raises their hands. But they're like, oh, I don't want to tell you, I don't want to brag. I don't want to brag about how good I'm doing. Yes, remember that every time we share our successes, whether it's insight or lucidity, we help each other, right? We have to look to each other sometimes to see like, yes, it's possible, it's happening. So open invitation to brag. All right. We got one. We got a celebrator.
Well, I don't know if I'm gonna brag, but I was
Celebrate.
very inspired looking at the telegram, from everyone. And actually, I've had, like last week, I was at a conference, a lot of people. I couldn't recall a single dream. I don't know if it's too many impressions in waking life. But then last night, I didn't get lucid, but I had this dream, a very vivid one. And then I remembered, I got anxious and I remembered, oh, I can take short moments, like short moments of relaxation. So just remembering this method that I'm practicing in, that was really for me a good thing, and remembering my dreams. And maybe a question with that, because I noticed I slept in quite long today. It seems like I dream more if I sleep longer in the
Of
morning.
course. I mean, this is the best way to increase your chance of not just dream recall, but lucidity is like remember that sleep graph, the more towards the morning and the longer we sleep, the more of that sleep is REM. So for instance, if you can squeeze in another cycle, like a lot of people sleep probably like 5 or 6 cycles, right? So like those cycles are 90 minutes. So those first 3 cycles, deep sleep, and then maybe 2 cycles. But if you can sleep in for like another hour, hour and a half, that'll be like big chunk of dream. So you're also kind of dipping in and out. So it's one of the best things if you ever have part of the dream date is to try sleep in a little longer the next day. And yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing. Thank you. Laurel, hello. Good to see
Hi,
you.
good to see you too. Mine's just a tiny little thing, but it's something I've never experienced in a lucid dream before. So I had a really awful dream. I won't get into the details. It was so awful that within the dream, there was a part when I was reporting it to the police and recounting all of it. And after I got off the phone with the police and I stepped outside, I realized this was a dream, and I was so freaking relieved. And here's the part that I actually find most interesting is I was in my bedtime life, I was lying there was a fan blowing in waking reality. And within the dream, just as I realized this is a lucid dream, I could actually hear the fan that was blowing on my sleeping body, but I was still fully in the dream. But I chose to leave because it was so awful. I was just so pleased that there was an additional way to get out of the awfulness of
Sure.
it.
Yeah.
But and I'll process that dream more and see what more things I can learn from it. But I've never heard waking life sounds while I was actually lucid. I mean, I've had things like beeping up like trucks out in real life become like an alien or something that I didn't realize, but this was just really unique for me.
Well,
I
yeah,
just thought that was kind of
to
cool.
hold that dual recognition of I'm in this dream where there is all this kind of internally generated sound, sensation, blah, 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 and then have this parallel of like, and I can hear the stimulus from the waking state. I mean, that's kind of trippy, right? And that's, I mean, that's, and this
Yeah.
is like thinking again in terms of like, whoa, how big is our sense of awareness and processing? And the truth is like, it's big enough to hold all of it. Like your system is simultaneously experiencing waking state in all its sounds and sensations and a compelling dream reality. And it was super cool that you were able to like have a moment of cross-pollination. It's not common. It's pretty rare. So, and also sorry about the nightmare. I know that feels like to have a dream that's so strong that the relief of realizing it's a dream and then just feeling like I just need to be back where I feel safe to deal with it. So, and I know you'll go do your digging around that. So, great.
Thanks.
Thanks for sharing. Judith, hello, hello.
Yeah, I just wanted to give a progress report because I did it in the Telegram group that I was teaching, trying to teach the grandson Pedro. He's going to be
Yes.
14 this year, and he did a dream mission. He wanted to fly on a fantasy dragon because we saw this movie Avatar, well, that didn't work. And then he had a nightmare, which he didn't want. First, he didn't want to talk about it. I said, well, just try to talk about it. Maybe it will help you then. So he told me, and it really wasn't that bad of a night. It was kind of freaky because there was a house that had all kinds of like subways and stuff inside of it. And then there was a kind of a man who had a gun, and the police got him. And then he got the gun, and the police were scared of him, and Pedro ran away in the dream. And so I said, well, what do you think? Should you try with this dragonfly? And he said, no, no, I don't think that's going to work. And we kind of brainstormed, what could you do a dream mission for tonight? And he came up with, I said, it has to be something you really want to do.
Mhm.
So he said, I want to play on slot, these arcade machines, kind of like slot machines. And I want to play on one of those. And I said, well, you have to design it. You have to give it a name. And he can sketch very good. So just draw the slot machine as good as you can, give it a name, make it colorful. And then write your dream mission. When I'm lucid, I'm going to play on the slot machine, blah, blah, blah. And for your Sankalpa, why don't we say blah, blah, blah machine appear.
Great.
So he's working on it, and he gave me permission that I could publish a photo of his dream mission in the
Oh,
Telegram group.
fantastic. Wow. I
Because
mean,
I said, we're all going to support you, Pedro. We're all in this
yeah.
struggle together. But he's getting interested. Well, I think because of the nightmare, too. I said, well,
Sure.
this is something. I said, a lot of people who are good at lucid dreaming actually came to that through nightmares. And I said,
Absolutely. Yeah, and like
maybe this
even,
is a,
I mean, if you think about for us, I mean, so many people I've worked with had nightmares as a young person and then didn't have any support dealing with them. And so what do?
Mhm.
We just delete our dream from memory. We're like, well, I'm just not going to remember my dreams. So for a lot of
Right,
us, like
right.
not being given the opportunity to go, gosh, like, yeah, that nightmare was pretty strong. And like, oh, there's ways I could work with it. Or I have some capacity to interact with my dreams. Like, I just think starting young just rewrites the whole story. So I'm just celebrating you, Judith,
Exactly.
for bringing that to your beautiful grand.
Yeah, I'm just celebrating too. He's really interested because we tried a few times in the past, and I realized he was just too young or whatever. But good now on this, time of going from being a
Yeah,
child to a teenager.
it's good
Yeah.
timing.
So, okay,
Amazing. Keep us updated.
I will. Thank you.
Beautiful. And we're gonna tag into a little bit of what we did last week. I want to kind of double click on what we started exploring around this practice reset and self-efficacy. And after we kind of go through the recap, anyone who would want to share a little bit about how the practice reset went, good or bad, would be great. Because these are these interesting moments where, like we talked about last week, having built so much momentum, and I can see it now in the group, right? Like there's things where you're like, wow, I did this and I didn't expect it, and then lucidity worked, or I completely eased up and then it came, or finally that technique clicked. Like we've built months of momentum that is going to start paying off, but paying off in all kinds of non-linear ways because we've raised this baseline lucidity and we're learning the different ways to do that, whether that's relaxing more or having more fire. But in that, now is a really valuable time for us to build the backbone of our practice in a way that so when we only have a couple more months together when this program ends, you have a way of self-facilitating and self-structuring to keep your practice going and to really have that sense of confidence that you are going to be able to tweak the dials that you need to or stick to the things you want to stick to and have that confidence. Because for most people, their lucid dreaming practices die because they feel confused, unclear, or they don't have like the internal kind of consistency. So tapping back into this idea of the reservoir of self-trust, right? This is a very simple metaphor here, but I'm visual, so I'm like, I always see my reservoir of self-trust as a kind of literal watery reservoir. I'm like the most literal metaphorical person ever. But I like to see this as a kind of like a tank, like a lucidity tank, and that it's something that I can fill or deplete depending on how I'm being, right? And this matters because I think sometimes I hear the story from people that, well, I'm just not that kind of person. I'm just not a very consistent person, da 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 da. But self-efficacy isn't a built-in character trait. It's not like having blonde hair or brown hair or the height you grow, right? Self-efficacy is a skill that you build and you develop. And some people develop it younger just by the conditions of their upbringing. And maybe their temperament lends them towards that more, sure. But anybody can develop it. And so it's important to like just notice if at any point you have a story around like, yeah, but like I'm the kind of flowy type of person. I just don't have much self-efficacy. Okay, but that's a skill, it's a choice, right? And you don't have to have self-efficacy, but I will read this to you. People with strong efficacy, this is from a meta-analysis of studies around self-efficacy and how people are when they follow through on their words. So self-efficacy here not being self-esteem. It's not how you feel about yourself. It's about your sense of capability based on whether you perceive that you overcome things, whether you stick to things, right? So how confident and capable and trustworthy you feel that you are. And people with strong self-efficacy tend to embrace difficult tasks as opportunities to learn, recover quickly from setbacks. They attribute failure to insufficient effort or poor strategy, which are things they can change. They have lower stress and are less likely to develop depression because they have the sense of agency, right? So even if something's hard or challenging, they're less likely to be like, oh, well, there's nothing I can do about it or get overwhelmed. They're more likely to be like, oh, okay, well, I know I have agency to change things. I believe in myself. I trust myself. People with low self-efficacy tend to avoid challenging tasks, give up easily, focus on weaknesses and negative outcomes, believe that failures are due to a lack of ability, like a fixed trait. Oh, I failed because I'm not good at that. I'm just not able to do that, right? They experience higher stress and they're more vulnerable to depression. So the way that we feel about ourselves when it comes to how we do things matters immensely. And like we talked about, last week again, we all have a sense of self-efficacy somewhere in our lives. Like there's something that we are 10 out of 10 in, probably many things that we're 10 out of 10 in terms of what you always do. And so just beginning to realize that when it comes to I mean, anything you want to put your mind to, but here we're talking about lucidity and lucid dreaming practice. It is our choice if we want to go, you know what? I want to become a 10 out of 10 in my approach. And by being a 10 out of 10, really setting myself up to win by making the decisions that I know I can stick to, repairing when I make mistakes, celebrating when I win, keeping my word. So, like I said, you can fill up your self reservoir, but you can also leak it out, right? So here are some of the kinds of like the sort of thoughts, the ideas, the beliefs that fill up our sense of self-efficacy. I did what I said I'd do. I make up for breaking my word. So let's say you fall off the wagon, but you make up for it, you repair. I stick to things, I complete things, I can figure things out, I overcome challenges. This is like the attitude that is around self-efficacy. This is what we talked about last week. If you feel like that doesn't feel true for you, it would be better that you did one thing a week and stuck to it to start building this up. Because notice that none of these beliefs are like, I do everything perfectly all the time. I can do every single practice and never break my word. It's just that whatever you uniquely, subjectively decide to do, you stick to it. If you break your word, you adjust for it. If you're doing it and you notice, this is too much for me, you make an intentional change. What we're trying to do is be intentional instead of on the other side, the leaking. I'll do it if I feel like it. This is one that I can be, if I did meditation when I felt like it, how often would I really meditate? It's really hilarious. When I'm actually meditating, I'm like, this is amazing. Why don't I do this all the time? But I have this strange kind of like, I see if I feel like it. So that's not a great one. I don't always do what I say I'm going to do. If you have this like subtle self-doubt where you're like, yeah, I know I said that, but I'm like, I always say that. And you have this consistent thing of breaking your own word, it undermines your trust, right? I'm hit and miss. If it's too hard, you know what? I'll just try something else. I start things and I don't finish. If we feel this way about who we are, we're going to have a lower sense of self-efficacy. And like, let's be honest, like, let's pretend this was somebody else and you were trying to choose, like, to trust someone with something. Would you trust someone who says to you things like, you know what? If it's too hard, I'll try something else. I'm hit and miss. I don't always say what I'm going to I don't always do what I say I'm going to do. I'll do it when I feel like it. I start things and don't finish. You're probably not going to have a high sense of trust in that person, right? If they say to you, yeah, I'm going to do this week, you might kind of internally go, yeah, they always say that. They probably won't, right? So what we're trying to do here is just be attuned to these kind of really subtle internal layers of our relationship with ourselves. Because what it comes down to is essentially this question: do you trust yourself? And with lucid dreaming, oh boy, are we working with the most subtle, fine threads of our own selves, right? And so it's going to be way more fun and way more effortless if we have built or are building this sense of self-trust. And this is only something that you can sort of like tune into and figure out for yourself. You might feel like you already have a high sense of self-trust in life. Then look specifically at your practices. Are you applying those same principles to your lucid dreaming? Or does there need to be a bit of an adjustment? If you feel like 100% I'm on it, celebrate that. I have a high trust relationship with myself around my practice. Fantastic. And really thinking about here, like with the self-trust stuff, that you do not, this is not about getting it perfect. This is not about saying, well, I'm doing every single thing that I know I should do, and then collapsing under the weight of feeling like a failure. It's kind of, I don't know if this is the right metaphor, but again, I was thinking about like with Jesus, Jesus is so forgiving. Like there's infinite chances with Jesus. Do you know what I mean? And I think we need to give ourselves in some ways infinite chances, in the sense of even if we fall off the wagon 100 times, coming back with compassion, love, and care, and starting again. There's like, if you say, oh, I said I was going to build self-trust, but now 3 times in a row I've ruined it. So I'm just a hopeless case. I'm ruined forever. That's not the right frame to hold this. This is like you're holding the Jesus frame of like infinite chances, infinite love, infinite compassion. And what you're trying to do here is that if you're struggling, go back to simplicity. Don't have 16 things on your list. For the next 2 weeks, it's one thing. Even if it's one thing a week. But every single week you go, you know what? I did that one thing. Like that is a better place to start when building this relationship. And then of course, like we're going to do this week, like next week, you'll add something else. And then you're going to increase your sense of capacity. And when you come up against an obstacle, because you've got this increased capacity, you know what? I think I can do this. I can deal with this. And when you overcome that obstacle, wow, more sense of self-efficacy filling up that tank of that sort of reservoir of self-trust. And, when it comes to something like this, which is a lifelong practice, building that relationship, being our own friend, being our own support, having personal integrity with ourselves is crucial. I don't doubt that every single one of you has personal integrity in your relationships. Like I have a feeling, you would all have a high sense of integrity in the way you conduct yourself with your friendships, with your spouses, with your children, with your whatever, right? And yet sometimes where we can lose integrity quicker is with ourselves. We don't necessarily think it's as important to keep our promises to ourselves as to other people, right? And so sometimes, thinking back to the belief work, sometimes that requires a little bit of exploring, do you not believe that you deserve to be like valued and keep your word to yourself? Sometimes we have some things of, oh, other people are more important than me, so I'm just going to put them first, put them first, put them first. We can kind of dig into that too. So if you find you have a big obstacle with this, go back to the belief breakthrough process, whether that's the ChatGPT or the guided meditation, and just see, like, do you have anything stuck around there that's kind of holding it back? So, but I'm curious, like for those who were experimenting with this week, and anyone who wants to share either in the chat or here, a couple questions. Let's reflect on it together quietly first. For looking at your practice reset and feeling into how you wanted to rebuild and strengthen the sense of trust. What were the celebrations? Like, did you find that you stuck to what you said? Like, were you like, how did it feel? Did it feel like an increased sense of agency? Did you notice any difference in how that impacted your feeling about your practice or what happened in your dreams? So anything that you want to celebrate there? Like I know for myself, I was working specifically with my morning practices and I just felt so much more peaceful all day because I didn't realize how much of a subtle loop I was punishing myself. Like, oh, I didn't meditate this morning. Oh, I should have meditated this morning. I didn't do it. I should do it tomorrow. There was like a lot of internal friction going back and forth in relation to not doing it. So just doing the bloody meditation, even if just for 2 minutes, which always ends up being longer, gave me so much peace for the rest of the day. As an example. Any challenges? Did you do this? You go, you know what? I set out with the best of intentions. I did practice reset. I came up with just 2 things I wanted to do. And then I just completely forgot about it. Like, cool. And again, these are clues. Like if you found that there was still a challenge, it's a clue. There's nothing to be ashamed of. We're being investigators of our own habits and minds. Did anyone do repair? Did anyone break their word, but then repair with themselves? And how did that feel? So if anyone wants to share on any of those by sharing the chat or by putting up your hand, I'd love to hear how the practice reset process felt. Yes, Laurel.
Yeah, I felt like by stripping down things, it actually helped me be more lucid. I have so many things I do, and I don't always do them. I don't tend to beat myself up too much, but by just saying I'll test my reality 10 times a day and then just be really consistent about my induction, I had more moments of like pre-lucidity. Like the night before that experience that I just shared, there was a guy who was telling me things that no one else could have known because it was just in my brain. And then he told me another thing. And when I woke up from all that, it's like that was so close because I was asking the dream, like you had an experience where somebody in the dream was asking you to check lucidity. So I just asked the dream to please, like more specifically, not just may I dream or whatever, nothing like as much prayer like as that, but it's like, please, somebody in the dream or the dream itself, just like tap me on the shoulder and tell me to check reality or just help me be lucid. And that felt like a version of that.
Yes.
And then yeah, and then the next night I just got lucid. But I think, and I had said in one of the surveys that I do have split attention. I have multiple things that I want to do, and I don't necessarily want to drop all of them and just whittle down my life because I do care about a lot of them. But I think simplifying can sometimes
Yeah.
help with my focus. Not that I'm scattered, because I often do hold a lot of things, but I was more lucid this week.
Yeah, it's like the momentum, because like, listen, we're all busy. If we had to like only do the one thing to make it work, we'd be in trouble. But it's like we can almost choose to concentrate. Okay, like the energy I'm putting into lucid dreaming, I'm going to concentrate that into like these practices and then see what happens, right? And I think that concentration, then you can experiment with it because you might be like, okay, cool. Now I'm going to concentrate it into, this type of a practice or whatever. But I think it's skillful and it's fun. I think that's the other part to this. It becomes like, I like to gamify my practice sometimes. And because otherwise it can lose its kind of childlike joyfulness, Yeah, amazing. Thanks, Laurel. Judith, you're saying you feel lighter, and I felt lighter as I really did only dream journaling, and one time I had to repair. Okay, beautiful. Yeah, I think like I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I can get like if I get too serious about things, I can get really contracted about it. And then if I said I was going to do something, I didn't do it, I can carry a subtle sense of guilt about it. And these things all stack up to create like subtle aversion in the system to our dreaming practices because we feel behind. Like I've had lots of emails from you going, God, I'm really behind because of summer, right? Like summer, we're off, people are traveling. You're not behind. Like this, we're doing a program, but this program is completely like it's just an exploration. And if you watch the video in 2 weeks or three, but we feel behind because we were brought up in societies that told us you're behind, you've missed 2 weeks of school, you've missed this module, now you're in trouble, right? Ah, okay. So it's like, can we just create some lightness, some freedom, so we can return to like the joy, the pleasure, and the excitement of dreaming? Yes, we can. All right, now we're going to consolidate. We're going to consolidate some of the practical aspects of this because we have covered a lot. And do you know how we're going to do that? This is classic. I'm actually going to give you a pop quiz. I'm not kidding. But it's a fun pop quiz, okay? So how we're going to do this is I'm going to put the quiz in the chat. It's a series of some of them are multiple choice, some of them are going to be short answers. The point of this exercise isn't to score you, although you can look at your scores. The point of this exercise is for you to actually have to engage and think through the material we've gone through. It's just consolidation. And then I'm going to give you 15 minutes to go through the quiz and to put in your answers. And then we're going to come back and we're going to go through it together, especially on anything that you have questions or anything that you got wrong. So we can just kind of like synthesize the vast amount of material we've learned so far, especially with dream terminology, where like sometimes by week, like month 3, we're like, what's an induction, incubation, tagging, like we get it can be rule. So I'm going to put it here. I will, yeah, I'll let you go through it in your own pace. So you just click that, just make sure it opens for you fine. It should be accessible for everyone. I'll put in a little bit of thinking music, and I'm going to give us 15 minutes to go through that, and then we'll circle back here. I'm going to I'll have a quick look behind the scenes to see if there's any questions we need to really spend time on. But if there's anything during the quiz you're like, yeah, you know what, I'd like to understand that better, just note it down because we'll spend some time doing a consolidation for that. Anyone having troubles opening it, just send me a message here. Otherwise, let's put on a little bit of music. Lo-fi thinking music.
It's very important to listen first, talk second.
Serves me right for not having a paid YouTube.
So much.
Hmm. Theo, I'm gonna put the quiz up here if this is easy way to do it, but you should can you just if you want to send me a screenshot of what you're seeing, because this should anyone should be able to open this. There's no restrictions on it at all. But I'll just put this up as here. I can scroll through it for you as well. Okay, I'll give it 2 more minutes. Just if you can do your best to finish as much as you can, but don't stress if you're not finished. We'll go through this together. Okie dokie. See, most of you are done. Good job. And yeah, most of you are just, I think there's only like a few questions where we have a little controversy around the answers. And yeah, for the written answers, when you look at your scores, unfortunately, Google Forms doesn't have like a very smart system. So if you don't put it in exactly how it's spelled, it makes it wrong. But so don't worry too much about your answers on the written questions. We'll go through that together, and you'll see for sure that I can see, for instance, the Sankalpa and the Dream Mission. It's just a slightly different languaging and spelling. So. But this is great. I can see, like, for most of us, there's a pretty high confidence here in terms of the recognition. So we'll race through these together. And then we'll spend a little bit of time on where I see there's still a little bit of confusion, which is really around what I would have expected, which is, stabilization. So obviously, what are the key ways a dream journal supports lucidity? It's all of these. Strengthening our relationship. It improves our dream recall, brings more awareness, helps us learn our patterns, our themes, our dream signs, right? The reasons why dream journaling is so important is because it's not just about capturing dreams, remembering them. It forms such a big piece of our attentive listening part of the relationship with the dreaming mind. So you can, whenever we feel tempted to skip that, just remembering, it's a cornerstone. This one, what is the key thing that makes a lucid dream different from a non-lucid dream? And, the way you guys put this is bang on. This is, exploring it as you realize that you're in a dream, awareness that I'm dreaming. The dreamer knows they're dreaming, knowing I'm dreaming as I'm dreaming. And that's exactly it, right? It's this distinguishing quality of recognition. This is a dream. And even if within that recognition, if that recognition lasts for half a second, or if you're able to stabilize it, and the thing is, do you recognize it? So for instance, if you have a lucid dream where you know that you're dreaming, but you just keep kind of doing what the dream is doing, but you know that you're dreaming, it's still a lucid dream. If you decide to collaborate with the dream, that's just about I guess, like the choices you're making and the quality of lucidity. But as long as you just have that reflection of like, this must be a dream, that's the beginning of the lucid dream. And that's why we learn how to stabilize it lucidity. But yes, that moment, that's it. If you were facing something challenging and scary in your practice and dream, which of these would you use? Yeah. And so every single one of you nailed that. Automatic compassion response. And this is something, because we did it quite early, I just want to bring it back to your attention, where this is such a great tool to work with anytime you're dealing with not just things that are scary, but even like in your own, let's say, your own resistance. So your own resistance, whether that's to practice, or let's say you come out of a nightmare and you're dealing with that, using your ACR first to recalibrate. One of the cool things you can do, if you've like Laurel was so beautifully sharing around, like, that terrible nightmare, came out of it. One of the things I do when I have that experience is, like, I got lucid, but I was like, bail. I'll wake up. I'll use my ACR to calibrate myself, to come back to a place of kindness, compassion, and strength. And then I'll see if I can go back into the dream, right? With this kind of strengthened perspective. And that's so good for that. So what's one way, apart from dream journaling, you can strengthen your relationship with your dreaming mind? Yeah, this I love your ideas. Meditating, absolutely. Especially connecting, like if you're doing a meditative practice where you are directly relating to the dreaming mind or subconscious mind, right? Even if it's just you know, uh, a kind of an offering of language, like, hey, dreaming mind, I'd love to connect. I would say if you're meditating and you want to connect the dreaming mind, make it explicit because there's a lot of kinds of meditation that really don't strengthen the dreaming relationship specifically, but it's such a powerful way to do it if you want to. Write a letter, exactly. Seeing everyday realities more dreamlike. Yes, bring the dreaming mind into the waking state, right? The cross state highway of like really not just us going into the dream, but bringing that in. Talking to people about my practice. Yeah, I mean, I think that if you are sharing and you're sharing from a place of enthusiasm and again thinking of like if you were talking about a friend positively, your friend would be happy, right? So anything that would strengthen a relationship. A daytime dream date. Yeah, again, more bringing it into the day. Reality checks. Yeah. So especially if you're using reality checks to build that kind of sense of connection again, connecting daytime, connecting dreaming. That's all of these practices when done with the right intention, that's what they're doing. Do something the dream suggests you do and look for and expect synchronicities. Yes, I love this, right? It's like you're listening. You're like, oh, the dream gave me advice. I took it. Or the dream gave me an idea. I took action on it. Or even just simple things like, I like to respect and honor some of what the dream gives me sometimes through painting, or it could be sharing it with my husband, being like, wow, I had the most beautiful dream. Thinking of ways you can kind of relish and cherish and honor what you experience, that's a great way of building strength with the dreaming mind. And here you can be as creative as you want. Again, this is a lifelong journey. So remembering that we started with relationship with dreaming mind, but that's not because it is this necessarily the simplest thing or you master it in a month. It's a it's a kidney relationship. It's ongoing. And you can use your wisdom to be like, you know what? I think if I did this, it would really open that connection again. All right, dream incubation is when you, yeah, use strong intention visualization to induce a specific dream. Fantastic. Why do we practice inductions at night just before bed? Great, this is excellent. Plant the seeds of lucidity. It's the last thing you do in waking state. It's more likely to affect your dreams because hopefully you'll have that kind of dream during the night. Yep, but like again, for the reason that when we do it just before bed, we're like leveraging that kind of hypnagogic thing, right? So like they say, to prime ourselves, to set a strong intention. Exactly. And so seeing that kind of induction period as, yeah, like our opportunity to kind of have a little bit of say or bring an offering of, I really want to remember my dreams, or I want to have this kind of a dream, or I want to get lucid. And the strength and the open-heartedness of our intention can have a massive impact on the night. How many times should you repeat your inductions at night? Ah, it's a subject of much controversy. Listen, I really believe it's until you saturate your experience with it. It's quality over quantity. So, for instance, I know people, and I am one of those people where when I think I was first given this, I was told to do it 21 times. But then I was like, oh, I know that I'm dreaming as I'm dreaming. I know that I'm dreaming as I'm dreaming. I know that I'm dreaming as I'm dreaming. I was so focused on the counting, I wasn't really feeling the induction. So to sit and be like, I know that I'm dreaming as I am dreaming. I know that I'm dreaming as I am dreaming. Doing that 5 times until it saturates my experience is always more effective than 21 times repeated, like, ba, 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 ba. It's right. So quality. So think about it as, yeah, feeling the priming effect should feel almost like an embodied experience. What do you do to create, what do you create to plan your next lucid dreams? You guys nailed this, of course, which is clear intention. It's why is it dream mission? Yes, dream mission, dream mission, dream mission, dream plan, dream mission. Yes. So here again, those dream missions, right? Which are your lucidity bridge, your sankalpa, your steps. This is just a kind of a structured way, just kind of like training wheels to help you have clarity about what you're doing. my husband got lucid like 5 times last night. He had a whole lot of sleep paralysis going on. Then it just, but he didn't have a dream mission, so he had 5 lucid dreams, and he came out and he was like, I didn't do anything. He's like, I flew, but I didn't really do anything. And I was like, well, what's your Sankalpa? He's like, I don't know. I'm like, right, well, that's why. So having something intentionally created that we work with allows us to meaningfully scaffold as we do like the beginning parts of like going from just getting lucid to actually collaborating with the dream, which is super fun. All right, now we get into some of the stabilization stuff, which there was a bit of a split. So with stabilization, remembering that for practical purposes, so this is an artificial delineation because everything ultimately is the same because it's your mind, the dream is your mind, the mind is your mind, it's all, But this is a really helpful teaching delineation when you're learning how to stabilize a dream. And so here, if someone gets lucid, but they lose lucidity and get sucked back into a non-lucid dream, what stabilization should they focus on? So this means that they're losing lucidity. They had the recognition, it's a dream, but then they bought back into the dream narrative and kind of like lost the insight. So here, what we're trying to do is to strengthen and brighten the recognition. So here, it's about saying their name, their biographical information, and affirming it's a lucid dream. And that's because it's going to help that prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that's waking up. That's the bit that's beginning to light up. We're wanting to strengthen and stabilize that, right? This one here, the rubbing of the body, the walking, that actually helps to stabilize the perceived environment of the dream. So that's when if you have like a wobbly dream. So knowing that those two dials, why I like to make the distinction is because as you start to have longer and longer lucid dreams, you will be using those dials to walk the tightrope, to have 5, 10, 15, 25-minute long lucid dreams. But you need to know those dials because you might be in a dream and suddenly it starts to like fluctuate or wobble. You need to know how to stabilize it. Or you might be suddenly going, wait a second, I'm like doing some stupid random dream thing. I've lost, okay, brighten. So we have to like know which techniques are most supportive. Dream tagging. You guys all nailed this one. Yes, it's the way to remember dreams in the middle of the night. Fantastic. Now, the point of a lucid dream date. Yeah, you guys gave great answers to this. The synthesis for this is like, it's a combination of everything you said. Some of you said to be able to sleep and have more REM. Some said it's to like strengthen relationship, to help get lucid, to give the inner dreamer a clear signal that I want to become lucid. It's all of these things. It's creating an intentional container where you can have more quality of whatever you're practicing, whether it's your pre-sleep induction practices, the wake back to bed, the sleeping in. But by doing that from a practical level, you're giving yourself like way more actual practical kind of, whether it's the induction strength or the sleep interruption, you're helping yourself get lucid. But then, yeah, from a kind of relationship sense, you're also saying, this is important to me. This is fun. I love this. We're setting time aside for it. So that's why I love the lucid dream design dates, because you can really start to, even if you've had like a couple weeks of, traveling or whatever, you can really have a beautiful night of practice. If you want to connect with more heart energy, we can, yes, you got this. All of the above. Exactly. Remembering that heart is all about kind of playfulness, surrender, openness, creativity, really working with the kind of I trust the world energy. Before doing a technical state check like a hand flip, what's the most important thing? You all nailed this. A mindful moment of connectedness, right? The quality of lucidity. Because like we've heard from many people, like sometimes when we're starting to get lucid, or when we get lucid, we actually have the insight before we do the hand check. We go, wait, this is a dream. And then we use the hand check to like anchor it. Whoa. But most of the time we have the insight, or we have the suspicion we're dreaming first. And that's a degree of like clarity and present-mindedness. And so activating that first is important. I will say, who was sharing about someone was sharing this morning, might have been Judith, about the hand checks where just the simple habit of handshaking is really powerful. Twice this week, I've got lucid with having no inclination I was in a dream. So no like, is this a dream? Am I dreaming? Nothing like that. No, like no inkling. But my state check practice is pretty solid. And so something happened in the dream that was weird. And I was like, oh, I should do a state check. Like that was weird enough to justify doing a state check so that when I dream next, I'll do a state check, right? No idea I'm dreaming. Do the state check. Holy moly, I'm lucid. So they both work powerfully. You can have it as like, but you want to have both. You want to have the strength of that, like, present awareness and then the anchoring. Super fun. Yes, and you guys nailed this. What do you call the set of practices you do as soon as you get lucid in a dream? Lucidity bridge, lucidity bridge, lucidity bridge, stabilization practice. Fantastic. Yes. And you guys nailed that. If someone gets lucid but the dream ends quickly, what stabilization should they focus on? Right. So this is the same answers before, right? The rubbing the body, the saying their name. So this here is when someone gets lucid. I'm lucid. But then the dream collapses. Shit, it was over in 2 seconds. So this is often when our mind is just by habit reverting back into the body as that part of us wakes up. It destabilizes, we jump back into the body. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to anchor the mind into the dream, say this is reality. And so using like the quote unquote physical dream body, creating sensation, rubbing and slapping the body helps the mind to stabilize to this is reality, quote unquote. Walking, creating a sense of moving through time and space, looking at things detailed. Okay, cool. Spinning with your eyes open. These are all things designed to anchor you into the dream and to keep the dream stable so you don't just bounce out. So if you have short lucid dreams, you get lucid, you get out, you're going to want to do these kinds of practices, the rubbing of the body. Yep. If we want to cultivate more fire energy, we can, yes, all of the above. Some of you chose one or two, but these will all be great. And I'll tell you why. So designing a lucid dream date night with a wake back to bed element and sticking to it. This is like strong intentionality. Tonight I'm working with my dreams. Tonight I'm going to make this fun. Okay, I'm going to do the sleep interruption. Yes, it's worth it. This is great. Let's do it. The Bodhisattva self practice is to cultivate motivational energy, backbone, right? Efficacy. I am a capable being. I have this incredible interdimensionality built into what and who I am as a spiritual being. Like, absolutely. Working with strong directive lucidity inductions. Next time I'm dreaming, I know that I'm dreaming. The next time I'm dreaming, I know that I'm dreaming. Fire. Creating and reviewing a clear, powerful dream mission that inspires you, same thing. So fire is anything that gets you, fire is like, fuck yeah. Fire is yeah. Fire is like, oh, fire is yeah. It's got this like, let's get it energy and like intentionality. Heart is like, I trust, I love this. I'm open, I'm listening. Please help me. This is cool. I'm here for you. It's got that kind of like more like playful, open energy, right? So those are the two things we can play with. Yeah, if you fall off the wagon of your practice, what should you do next? None of you got this wrong, thank God. Except failure. If you haven't been able to stick to it, this isn't the right path for you. These are all things I've heard, just by the way. As much as I laugh, but like I've heard this, people saying, well, like I've tried for 6 months. It didn't work. I'm clearly a failure. I'm clearly not meant for this. Which is just not true. Like it's a longer path for some people, depending on what they're working with. But if we stick with it and we're open and we're iterative and we're smart and we're playful, then on the other side, I've heard, just relax, let it go. I can't force it. I'll just start again when I feel like it. So that's the other response of feeling disappointed and then just, this isn't even that important to me anyway. I just won't do it, right? Which also isn't necessarily going to help. Just completely letting it go sometimes, but often it's the middle way, which is like, okay, start again with fresh commitment, connect to the heartfelt motivation, right? The deeper why of why we're doing this, beyond the outcome, beyond needing it now, kind of really regenerate ourselves from that place. Acknowledge that it's like something came up. Okay, you know what? This wasn't working, or I didn't stick to my commitments. Like acknowledge what didn't work and what challenges came up. And then just use the intelligence of everything you've learned to make a plan for how you're going to change that. Okay, cool. Well, I notice that I'm actually just struggling to keep to my commitments. So I'm going to simplify my commitments and I'm going to make a star chart. Great. Or maybe it's like I'm doing too much. I'm doing 16 practices and I'm exhausted psychologically. Ah, okay, maybe I need to go have more fun. I need to go do a daydream date. I need to go do what Tony did and just go sit in a spa. I was like, yes, just go be spacious. And then I'm just gonna sleep in the next day. You figure it out. But staying anchored in joy, in gratitude for the process, so important. It's just so, so important. Okay, yeah, if you get lucid and you want to stabilize the brightness of lucidity. So again, I'm just going to keep, this is the trickiest one, so I'm sure you can see it now. Lucid, you want to stabilize the brightness of lucidity, right? That's the recognition that you know that you're dreaming. So you think about this. Squeezing the dream body is going to help stabilize the dream. Falling backwards in the dream is just something cool you can do. Here, it's going to be saying your name and biographical information out loud, helping to brighten the lucidity and activate the mind. If you're lucid and you want to stabilize the dream and you want to use a lucidity bridge that practices thinking, stabilizing the dream, help the mind ground into the dream reality, touching the dream body, looking closely at the dream, right? Just like we talked about. These ones here, like this is about brightening your lucidity. Activating your recall or dream mission is just something you do next. So an effective way to catch your dreams. Yeah, you guys nailed this. Stay still. That's like, this is kind of the pre-journal bit, is just stay still. Allow yourself to marinate in the experience of where you were, catch the threads, flesh it out in your mind. How can we use dream signs and state checks together to induce lucidity? This is a goodie. Yeah, commit to doing a state check anytime one of your dream signs appears in waking state. Fantastic. And what part of your dream mission should you know off by heart to repeat at any minute? Sankalpa. So, all y'all, what's your Sankalpa? Put it in the chat right now. What's your Sankalpa? Should know off by heart. What is your Sankalpa? I literally put it in the chat. And if you're like, oh shit, I don't know, just go, I don't know. Nice. Teenage Tamlin, come to me. Or if it's really, really personal, you can just say, I have it, but it's personal. Because sometimes we're working with something super personal. So, right. Brilliant. I am awake. Take me to my new home. Power of love, come now. Excellent. Michaela, come to me. Show me the way. Cool. All right. And if you're like, oh, you know what? I actually am not sure what my Sankalpa is. I'm between dreams or whatever. That's a great sign to like make sure sometime this week that you get really clear about it. Okay, last two questions. You should plan for your wake back to beds when? So this one I worded badly, so I apologize. There's two correct answers to this because, I mean, theoretically, the best thing is sometime 4 to 5 hours after going to sleep. But that does include the last 90 minutes of sleep. If you're someone who doesn't struggle to go back to sleep, because I have some friends who, for instance, like they can wake themselves up an hour before their normal wake up time and go back to sleep. So whoever put the last 90 minutes was marked wrong. I'll also just say like that does count. But the key thing you want to know here is just never before 4.5 hours, essentially, giving yourself all that deep rest. And lastly, why do we create our motivation manifesto? To stay connected to our deepest why and to take joy in the process, not the outcome. Excellent. Fantastic, guys. I mean, I think this is it really makes me feel really proud for and proud of you because I think you can see this too. You're like, wow, think of how much you've really absorbed and learned. Like if I gave that quiz to your average Joe, they wouldn't even know what we're talking about. They would think we're speaking some kind of crazy foreign language. Yes, you are a badass dreamer. We are badass dreamers, but we don't have to print things out to show people that. We know that, and we support that with each other. So then, the last thing I want to do with you guys today is to speak a little bit about language when it comes to dreaming, because as we've been working on the motivation manifestos, so for instance, last week when we started working on really nailing that motivation manifesto of like, what is the deep why of why you're working on this? When you're working with your Sankalpas, so when you're really designing what kind of prompt are you offering up to the dream? These are really, really important. And so this idea of like the language in the dream and starting to be really intentional and specific about how we construct the language we use is actually an amazing way I think to get to know ourselves better, but also just to be more effective in those moments. So we're just going to do kind of 10 minutes on this quickly. Really getting that words, especially in the context of a dream, are subjective symbols. And words will mean the connotation of a word might mean something different to you as to me. It's why I know you're learning a new language. Like I'm learning Spanish, and they have multiple words sometimes for the same thing, but they have different connotations. And I don't know what they are, right? I'm like, especially you're learning things like what's the difference between this word for boyfriend and that word for boyfriend, but they have different kind of connotations. And you have to ask like a Spanish speaker, and they're like, oh, this is like casual. And this is like, oh, there's some potential here. Right? So there's like, and so I just want to play with a few here. So for each of these, let's start with representative versus personification. When you think of the word representative, like let's say you're going to summon a representative of your dreaming mind, what connotation does that have? A representative of my dreaming mind. A representative, like for me, a representative is someone who is acting on behalf of, right? Like if I have a representative from a country, so a representative would be someone or something on behalf of the dreaming mind. Personification, what's a personification? Personification would be the dreaming mind coming down into person form. Okay. And this was a mistake I made, right? It took me like 3 dream missions before I got this because I kept summoning a representative of the dreaming mind. And I kept getting a representative. I kept getting like officials. And I was like, is this my dreaming mind? When I summoned a personification of my dreaming mind, it was one of the most extraordinary lucid dreams I've ever had. So when you're choosing words for your sankalpa, like feel into it, right? What about this here? It'll be different for each person. There's nothing right or wrong about each of these, right? It's your personal subjective symbol. How do you feel? You can try this out loud now. How do you feel if like you were summoning something and you said, show yourself, or versus come to me? Like, does one of those feel better or worse to you, right? You kind of want to feel it. Some people don't like feeling bossy in their dreams. If they say show yourself, they feel aggressive. Some people go, oh no, if I say show yourself, I'm being aggressive, right? For other people, it's playful. Hey, show yourself, like you're playing hide and seek. So again, just feeling into what feels right. And for instance, some people have to add, please come to me, because they want to feel more polite. Please come to me, respectful. Other people, like for me, if I say, please come to me, it, for whatever reason, makes me feel a little bit of doubt. Like I'm not confident they're going to come to me. And I'm just like, please come to me. Please come to me. Whereas if I just say, come to me, I have confidence. So subtle, different connotations for each person. Same when we're constructing what we're going to summon. Like if we're going to summon something, or the language of like where we want to go, or anything. Really, sometimes it's great to like come up with 3 or 4 or 5 different options. So for instance, the difference between, I was working with a client who kept summoning their fear of love. And when they would summon a fear of love, they would often get quite an intense nightmare figure, because it was a representation of something that was literally their fear of love, right? It's actually very different to the love shadow. The love shadow was just whatever they had pushed into the subconscious mind, what they had shadowed. And so after they worked with the fear of love and they called the love shadow, it was the love shadow that they were actually trying to look at. So just being curious, like, is it my fear of something I'm wanting to work with? Or is it kind of what I've abandoned? Like getting really curious about the language you want to use. Even something like unconscious and dreaming mind. When I first started, as probably a couple of years in, the dream mission I told you about where I met my dreaming mind, back then I called it the unconscious. I didn't have dreaming mind as language. But to me, it meant dreaming mind. But if I was to do that now, if I was to call for a personification of my unconscious, it would probably bring me something quite different. Because now I have a much more delineated kind of idea of subconscious, unconscious, dreaming mind. I have different connotations, right? And again, no right or wrong. This is subjective. What does it mean to you? Like an emotional way, what does it mean to you? Even stuff like if you want to go somewhere, if you want to go to a Pure Land or to a beautiful location or down to the Hell Realms, or if you're doing like dimensional work, take me to X. That feels right to some people. And when you say, try it now, say out loud, just choose anywhere. It could be like, take me to Japan. Take me to Japan. When I say it, I imagine being picked up and moved. And whenever I do take me, the dream picks me up and moves me. For some people, they say, take me to Japan. They imagine Japan appearing. Japan will appear. Or another way to say is Japan now. Japan now. And then imagining, boom, it's right there. So this, I know it sounds a bit kind of funny, but once you've got your idea for a dream mission, you've got the kind of basis of your Sankalpa, workshop it. Workshop the language. You want to like feel into it, say it out loud, practice it. How does it feel? You want to have a sense of like confidence that the emotional connotations and the symbolism that you're working with the language is as strong as it can be. So yeah, look at your language, Sankalpa, motivation manifesto. Oh yeah, inductions, mantras. Same thing for when you're doing your inductions at night, right? Is your induction, does it feel right to you? Does it feel like, does the language feel, emotionally accurate? So for instance, is it generating, if you're trying to feel a sense of, let's say you're going with the heart approach. Okay, I really want to feel a sense of opening to collaboration. When you say your induction, does it produce that feeling? Do you go, dreaming mind, I surrender to your wisdom? Do you actually feel a sense of surrender or not? And if not, adjust the language. And for instance, like you might just be like, I don't trust it enough. So you go, dreaming mind, help me to surrender to your wisdom. Okay, that feels better. Dreaming mind, God, help me surrender to your wisdom, please. Help me to learn to trust you. Help me to feel safe to trust you. So emotional accuracy. If you want to create more openness, does it create more openness? If you want to create more fire, does it create fire? Could it be more powerful, evocative, inspiring? Especially in your motivation manifesto and your Sankalpas. Does each word feel like, yeah, look at the verbs. Do the verbs feel like, yes, I am evolving for the benefit of all beings? Or am I opening for the benefit of all beings? Or just look at the language, like look at each little word and be like a wordsmith. When you're using things like Sankalpas, manifestos, inductions, these are magic spells, right? And the language we use matters. So can you proactively strengthen the symbolic connotations? This is where it gets cool. You can then go, okay, I want to use this word, but I notice that my connotations are not, I don't feel the same strength of emotion, but I know it's the right word. You can layer that emotion on, because what is a connotation? It's just a word that you have made associations with. So you can associate anything. So if you want to say, if I wanted to use something completely nonsensical, like flag, if I'm like, you know what, I'm going to use flag as my Sankalpa, but I'm going to train my associations to think flag means that an egg arises. I can do that through visualization repetition. As I say flag, 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 imagine the egg rising. Flag, yes, flag. I know it sounds ridiculous, but you can do this with anything. So if you want to strengthen the connotation of language you're working with, work with it. Like sit, say the word out loud, and pair it with whatever emotion or visual that you're wanting it to kind of become the magic spell for. You have that power. It's a completely internally generated thing. So yeah, so here we go. So this is how we can use language in a kind of more intentional way that can make a big difference to our practice, any of the verbal kind of practices like these, the inductions, the mantras, the manifestos. Yeah. And it's fun too. It's really fun to get to play with this. It's a great way to iterate if you're finding that you get lucid, you try your Sankalpa, and maybe it didn't quite work. It's one of the ways you can adjust. All right, so that's a pretty solid recap, everyone. Questions that came out of that, whether that's from some of the practice stuff from the quiz or exploring language or anything from your practice this week. Mark, Hi, hi.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, hear you fantastic. How you doing?
I'm well. Just backing up a bit, you mentioned a meditation to connect with the dreaming mind. Can you give me an example of that?
Yeah, so it would you it's not a standard practice, right? So they're not like you have transcendental meditation or loving kindness, but it could be as simple as before you, as you're sitting, you could say, "Hey, dreaming mind, as I meditate, I invite you to join me in this meditation." Or at the
Okay.
end, you could say, "Dreaming mind, I hope that you can see this practice that I'm doing. I would love to explore this with you in a dream." Anything to just kind of bring them in. So that's one way, the easiest, simplest way. I mean,
Hmm.
the other way is to actually work with, I mean, there are a couple specific meditation tracks, kind of like opening to the lucid dreaming mind, stuff that I've done, which you can use that are specifically to connect with the dreaming mind. But it's literally more just making an explicit invitation or an explicit offering.
Okay, cool. All right,
Yeah.
I'll do some work
It's like
with that.
someone yelling, you're like, "Hey Mark, you want to come in?" Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Right? So just calling the name to be like, "Come on, we'll include you."
Okay, thanks, Mia.
Fantastic. Anybody else got something on your mind? Tamlin, good to see you. Hi.
Hi. I've got two things that I struggled with this past week. Um, and one of them is that I've been having like really wonderful dreams. I've been really paying attention to my dreams even more and really kind of interpreting them and I think that there's a part of me that is kind of like, oh, but if I get lucid, then I'm not getting those kind of clean, unconscious dreams that I can then interpret, like that kind of Jungian way of looking at it, even though I know that it's more like having a direct conversation and writing a letter. And I suppose for this, I'm just looking for kind of encouragement and to help me
Mm,
cut through that
hmm.
thought, like a bit of ambivalence to doing inductions because of that, it
Sure.
feels. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, what if I was lucid all the time? You know, no, but this is real because I also like, I really love my non-lucid dreams, and non-lucid dreams provide an opportunity that lucid dreams don't because you have this full suspension of reality, right? So, what you can see, learn, and explore in non-lucidity actually has different parameters that and sometimes can be you know, more valuable or as valuable. So I think it's also like, first of all, affirming that it's totally beautiful to respect, honor, and want the non-lucid dreams. That's actually fantastic. And to then go, I'm not trying to stop that process. And recognizing that honestly, unless you are, and honestly, even then, but unless you are a high lama whose entire life is up in the mountains dedicated solely to dream yoga practice, the chances that more than point, well, let's say even maybe 1% of your dreams will ever be lucid is so low, right? 99% of what we're going to dream is going to be non-lucid dreams. Like just the vast majority of our dreaming life, even if you're someone who's getting lucid often, the vast majority of what you're going to be dreaming is non-lucid dreams. So they're not at jeopardy. You could go to bed every night with the strongest of intentions and trust that your lucidity, your lucid dreaming would never interrupt with the process of this. And remembering as well that like if your dreaming mind really needs to process something non-lucidly, it will. You cannot force it. Like we can trust in the fact that it's got it. Like we don't actually have the power to be as intrusive as we fear that we might be.
Uh,
And so then go, you know what? I can relax into this because it's a collaboration and the dreaming mind is absolutely taking care of its business. Like it's not gonna give up what it needs to. And that even even if you were in an intensive training period, you'd still be having mostly non-lucid dreams. You can just relax into the fact that, okay, I can value this. I'm not taking away from this. I'm not going to inhibit this unless at some point in your life that you decide that maintaining lucidity constantly, even with here's what's interesting, even with the consistent maintenance of lucidity with the masters, they describe the dreams still arise. They're just conscious of and just simply watch the dreams arising like it's a show. So even there, they are having their dreams are still dreaming. They're just observing from a place of awareness, right? So even there, the dreaming mind is still being allowed to dream. So you're good. I think it's like going like, you're good. You can't fuck it up.
And that really helps, especially though, you're not that powerful. Like it's not that won't happen if your dream mind doesn't want it to happen.
Yeah.
That really kind of lodged in. So thank
Yeah,
you.
and the same with their dream mind will look after you. Like if there's ever something we're trying too hard to do that's we're not ready for, the dream mind protects us. And it's a beautiful thing. I'm like, wow, it can be very humbling and disturbing for some people to go, I'm not the biggest, wisest part of me. Like what? But there's something really beautiful in that recognition too.
Yeah. Yeah. Great. Thank you.
Was there something else? You said there were two things?
I think that kind of covers the other one, which is about dream inductions. I think that with that, I'll find the dream inductions easier. Yeah.
And you can even like, again, this is language. If it feels good, you can be like, dreaming mind, if it please you, may I get lucid tonight, right? Like you can add in something which has like an honoring or acknowledgement of that. That's kind of fun.
Yeah.
And then for instance, you're not just like, you might be like, dream mind, if it please you, the next time I'm dreaming, I know that I'm dreaming. And then
Yeah.
you feel like that collaborative energy.
Yeah. It reminds me of when we first started the course and I was like, what's your relationship? And I've like got that bit celebrity vibe.
Yeah.
I realized that it's the same thing happening again, where I'm like, no, it's okay.
Okay, I don't want to bother you. I don't want to bother you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Thank
put, dream mind if it's not a bother. Thanks so much.
Can I just say I had your same exact fear and because I had a number of dreams with some deceased family members. Oh, sorry.
I'm here. We're here. No,
You don't know,
yeah,
but I was
just put you up
responding
so
to
I can see
Tamlin.
you. Yeah. We'll get to Adam. Don't worry.
Yeah. I had some deceased family members I met in dreams in a non-lucid way, and I was so afraid that I would lose that ability because when I woke up, I felt like I had a real meeting. So for a number of years, I stopped doing lucid dream inductions. But as Mia said, no matter how hard I try, I'm not going to get them all to be lucid. So that's why I came back. Anyway, so I had your same concern.
Thanks for sharing that, Laurel. Yeah, I think we all go through a phase like that, and especially when we have precious experiences like speaking to loved ones or big insights. Like I had a non-lucid dream that gave me such an epic insight into my some emotional residue that I don't think I would have got if I was lucid. But realizing that, I mean, if your loved ones are coming through to you, you think they're not going to knock, like they're going to knock if they want to come see you. Yeah, we got this. Adam, hello. You click the here we go. Gotcha.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. I'm doing two things. I've got the computer and also
Speaking through the phone.
my phone, yeah. So I'm sorry I'm late. I was visiting my Lama who's in town for a couple of days.
Nice.
I have two questions. The first one, I sent you an email. You may have not had a chance to look at it. I had a dream where in the dream, I looked at my hands and, they were deformed. So I said, oh, this is a lucid dream, but it didn't feel any different. And I didn't try and control it because it was with my son and my grandson. I didn't want to abandon them to go to Nepal on my Sankalpa. But then afterwards, I wondered, was that a lucid dream or was I just dreaming I had a lucid dream?
Well, yes, I actually emailed you back, but I'm going to repeat what I said because I emailed you just recently. I was like, yeah, okay, so this is an awesome question. Yes, that's a lucid dream. What happened though, like this is the cool thing, that this is like the the need to stabilize and brighten that lucidity is the next step. Because what happened was you had the recognition, but it didn't quite break through into full lucidity. And this can happen, especially if we have loved ones in the dream, because we're like, oh, like, my son, my grandson, like I can't leave them here. That's a sign of non-lucidity. If you're lucid, you'd be like, wow, cool. And I'm like in this beautiful dream with my son, my grandson. I'd give him a big hug and I'd say goodbye, and then I'd go off to Nepal because you know that they were
Okay.
dream figures, right? But like celebrate that because first of all, you got like that.
Yeah.
Like this is so
Yeah,
cool.
that
This
was
is so
cool. It
cool.
was
This is
really
so
cool.
cool.
Yeah.
And that is lucidity, and you got it. And so now it's like, okay, that's like it's like the ignition, like starting to like really
Yeah.
turn. And it's a wonderful sign. So first of all, like stamp and anchor the celebration around like, whoa, I found my hands. I recognize the deformation. I had the insight I was in a dream, but then I was just didn't quite break through and I stayed over involved in the dream and it got really back into the non-lucidity, right?
I
So this
see.
is where you go, okay, if I were you, I would be like, okay, I'm going to make sure I practice that the minute I have the insight this is a dream, that I start saying out loud, this is a lucid dream. My name is Adam. I live here. I would start the activation process
Yeah.
to,
Squeezing and
yeah, like strengthen that lucidity. So you have a greater, well, the squeezing would stabilize the dream, but it sounds like maybe for you it's more about brightening the insight. So affirming this
okay.
is a lucid dream, saying it out loud, saying your name. And then what'll happen is like that part of your mind will come online, and then you'll start to really see, not only is this a dream, but I remember now a dream is a projection of my mind. I remember anything in my dream is me. So you'll start to have that insight, and then you're in a better place to make a decision about what to do. That's super
Okay.
cool, Adam.
Yeah, really. And then
Yeah.
the other thing is, my non-lucid dreams are becoming more elaborate. So whereas my dream journal, was either I know I dreamed tonight, but I didn't remember anything, to just one or two lines, and now I've got a paragraph or two. Now, how do I use that? I mean, it's like I don't know how to make sense of it or any of the stuff. I mean, they don't seem to be connected in any way.
Sure.
Do I just read them and say, well, that's interesting? Or how
Yeah. I
much
mean,
time do I
yeah,
spend,
there's
looking at
no,
that as opposed to, positive, state checks and,
yeah.
induction processes and stuff like that?
So it depends on the why, right? So if you are focused mostly on lucidity, then we go, okay, cool. The dream journaling process is about staying in a relationship with the dreaming mind, but you do not have to make sense of your dreams or interpret your dreams or anything like that. What you might want to do is look for the patterns of the dream signs, right? So this is things like, I always dream about this person. I always dream about this location. I'm always worried in my dreams. Any kind of recurring themes or people or places, they're interesting to notice because if you pull them out, you might go, well, yeah, I always see this particular person. How can I work with that in my waking state, right? And you're going to start just tethering your state checks to things that are in your dreams. So that way you're more likely to do it. So that's what you can kind of look for just patterns that you can use, dream signs you can use. Emotional tones, like the way you feel in a dream, is a great dream sign to use. But you don't have to interpret it at all.
The good thing is that most of the dreams, I think all of them, I've had a very positive emotional state.
Great. But you can use that. It doesn't have to be like you can be like, wow, I'm always feeling a sense of like connected joyfulness in my dreams. So when you're feeling connected and joyful in waking state, do a state check.
Yeah.
Right? Like positive stuff is just as powerful as challenging stuff. Lucky
Yeah.
for some, Adam. Awesome. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks. And lastly, Judith.
I have my Celtic background. So when you were talking about working with language, that really spoke to me. And I have been struggling all day today. I was working on my manifesto. And for a few weeks ago, this word luminosity came up. And I was very attracted to it. And twice it kind of just crossed my path. So I thought, okay, this must mean something, synchronicity. But then again, so I was going, do I want to concentrate in my manifest reason why? Do I want to concentrate because I want to be more luminous? Or go for the lucidity, and
Mhm.
then I looked to see the meaning difference, very different. Luminous is this light that comes from within and goes out of you,
Mhm.
and lucidity is this clear sort of thing. And I'm kind of like trying to figure that out. And then I had a dream a couple of weeks ago where I woke up in a voice, two dreams with voices. That was a couple of weeks ago. It's time, it's 7:30, it's time to wake up. Okay, and then so 7:30, I actually thought that had some, because I'm in my 70s, I'm going towards my 80s, so I don't know. Right on. And then yesterday, I had a dream where it just said, transcend the end. Transcend the end. So I was trying to say, okay, what, because I'm working on this, I want to get this manifest really fiery, you know.
Mhm.
And I had written this haiku in my letter to my dreamer within where I said, be bathed in the blaze where your breath is all you need, ancient as a tree.
Mm,
So I
beautiful.
thought, okay, this with this blaze, all right. I don't know if you can give me a tip. I mean, I don't want to take
I
too
think
much
I
time
think
with my
you're
reader. I'm
doing
just,
it. Like keep like I can't answer it for you. You need to keep
no,
trying it on. You're in the right process though. Don't and there's no rush. Enjoy it. Like try it on. Explore the clues. Like our dreaming mind might give us language or experiences that help with this, but just like experiment, try things on and with the manifesto, work with it every night. So speak it out loud and see how it feels. And you might be like, too much fire, not enough fire. Like, you'll feel it. And then you might be like,
Mhm.
maybe it's lucid and luminous. Like just have fun with it. Like
Right. But it could just be also formulated like a haiku or a poem
it
where
could
you were
be.
talking about a word where I know in behind the scenes what this word really
Exactly.
means. Okay.
Exactly. And because we can, like we talked about, like you can actually make a word more meaningful by learning about it, researching it, putting energy into it. So you have
Mm-hmm.
power both ways. You have power to select a word that you already have meaning, but you also have power to put meaning into words. So like
Mm-hmm.
this is why it's such a fun creative experience of being able to take full responsibility for literally the hypnotic spells of self narrative we weave. We're like, wow.
By the way, also, since I was exploring all these words with light, and I thought about your last name. And in
Well,
the
Lux is actually
Latin,
my middle name, but it's easier to. My last name is
okay,
Cronin.
well, but it's like in the Latin Catholic tradition, we have
Yes,
this saying, you probably know it, lux aeternae,
yes,
eternal
yes,
light.
yeah,
I thought, right on, Mia. Nice
yeah,
one.
right? Yeah, it's great. Well,
Totally
thank you so
cool.
much, Judith. It's beautiful to hear. Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you, friends. That ends our kind of consolidation piece of this. Next week, we are going to be moving into the spiritual evolution part of this training, which I'm so excited to do. This is going to be explorations into death, into dimensionality. This is going to be a really fun deep dive into where these dream practices take us. So I look forward to seeing you then. Thank you for all being here today. I know it's summertime and it's a really special thing for us to still be continuing as strong as we are. Have a fantastic week. I'll see you guys next time. Ciao, ciao.